I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for my own struggles that I had when I was growing up. I remember once I went on stage to collect a raffle prize when I was with my mates on holiday, and the guy said, "What's your name?" And I said, "John." And I felt really embarrassed. I thought it was just because I'd had a few drinks that I was standing on stage in front of about 400 people. But then actually, when I wrote my book a few years ago, I actually realised what was going on. I was actually embarrassed to be me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Robert. I've got a great guest with me today. It's a guy called John Kenny, and he is known as the relationship coach. John, welcome.
Hi, Robert. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, it's a real thrill. I've been taking a look at what you've been doing online, and we connected on LinkedIn and stuff. And I'm really, really into relationships too. I deal a lot with your relationship with yourself. You deal a lot with relationship with others. And I thought, well, it would be great for you and I to do a coffee with Robert together and just explore that a little bit more. And our initial chat as well, I felt that we really, really resonated and connected. And I'm sure some of that energy is going to come across today. So I'm looking forward to it. I wonder, just for the benefit of the people watching this, if you could just talk a little bit about your background, what brought you to where you are now, and what you see for yourself in the future.
Yeah, okay, great. So my background, I was one of those people who had no idea what they wanted to do with their lives as they were growing up. And when I was about 16, 17, I discovered athletics and realized I was a really fast runner. And for 10 years or so, I wanted to be a full-time athlete. I ran for Great Britain a few times, but never made it into the full-time realm of athletics. And then when I gave up athletics after a series of injuries and some recognizing I really wasn't going to make a career out of it, I still had no idea what to do with my life. And I'd been working in retail most of the time I was doing athletics, and kind of decided to stay in the kind of the service industry. Decided that after a little while I didn't know what to do, so I thought I would choose a career path. I then trained to be a teacher. I went to university when I was 29. Really didn't like teaching, but while I was there, we did some psychology and we did some counselling in order to kind of work with the children. And I really sparked my interest in looking at that field of things. So I tried to change my degree to a psychology degree, but was unsuccessful. And in the meantime, I really didn't know what to do. My brother had joined the fire service in Essex, and I really wanted to go and live in Australia. So my brother said, "Oh, you can go and live in Australia as a firefighter." So lo and behold, I decided to join the fire service.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I joined the London Fire Brigade,
Yeah.
and I was a firefighter for 12 and a half years in London. And during that time, I kind of thought, I don't really want to be doing this, because also they changed the rules so you couldn't go to Australia as a firefighter anymore. So I thought, what am I going to do? Because I don't see this as being here for the next 30 years or so. So I went back to the counselling and psychology that I'd worked at university, decided to do another counselling training course, and ended up doing a diploma in counselling and started my own counselling agency back in 2008. In 2012, I met a coach, a leadership coach, and had some sessions with her. And she kind of just said to me, "John, you're helping these people with their lives. Why does yours still suck? Yours is a mess, basically." And I was like, okay. I didn't actually realize that my life was still a bit of a, because I'd had therapy of my own, and I thought I kind of got that on top of those types of things, but actually realized that my life was still a bit of a mess. My mind was a mess. My emotions were a bit of a mess. So she helped me to kind of guide me into a different direction, to understand that although I understood my story, I wasn't changing my story. And she showed me that I could actually start to change my story. That really got me hooked on coaching, and I started to implement coaching into my counselling practice. I did a diploma in counselling, in coaching and consultancy. And in 2016, I'd left the fire service. I'd been working part-time in the NHS as a therapist as well. And I thought, you know what, I need to just focus on the coaching side of things. That's really where my kind of passion is. I'd ruptured my knee playing football at the time, and I sat around for a month or so, and I thought I really need to take a different direction. So that's when the John Kenny coaching brand sort of came to mind. and I started to really focus on relationships. I'd also done a hypnotherapy diploma, NLP practitioner, and psychology diploma. So I decided to fuse all of those together and formed what I call interpersonal relationship coaching.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, or IRC for short. I'm
Yeah,
hoping that will catch on one day. And that's fused all of those approaches together.
yeah.
And I really started to focus on the relationship type of thing. So I'd also done a couples counselling qualification. So I was seeing couples. But I really wanted to work with individuals and helping people to manage the toxic and unhealthy relationship spaces that they found themselves in, which is where, when I met my coach, that's where I was. I was constantly repeating destructive and chaotic relationships over and over and over. And I wanted to help people to step out of that space or manage that space in a better way. So I did that with that was where my focus was. And then in the end of the first lockdown last year in 2020, I had a lot of people coming to me and saying, look, I've been single through the first lockdown, and I really don't know why. I've been on my own. I know that I don't want to be on my own. Could you help me to figure this out? So at the end of the lockdown, I started to get a lot more inquiries from people in that space. And that's when the relationship guy tag was born. And I decided to work focusing on people that really wanted to find quality relationships. And that's where we are today. And that's where I see it moving forward. So my focus is to help people to understand why they've not found the relationship that they want in their lives. And there could be several reasons for that. And then to be able to put them into the mindset that they can then go out and find the person that's right for them.
Love it, love it. I really do love it genuinely as well, because it's it's a passion of mine, as you know. And I'm curious though. I'm curious because when I was listening to you, I was reminded of something, a conversation I was having recently with somebody about this whole genre, and the fact that most people that come into this genre to serve others come from a place of trauma themselves at some point. And that's what's driven them to it. My own was depression when I was younger. I suffered with depression. And I'm wondering how big a part your toxic relationship with yourself played in what you're doing now.
Oh, it's the biggest part, yeah. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for my own struggles that I had when I was growing up. I remember once I went on stage to collect a raffle prize when I was with my mates on holiday. And the guy said, "What's your name?" And I said, "John." And I felt really embarrassed. I thought it was just because I'd had a few drinks that I was standing on stage in front of about 400 people. But then actually, when I wrote my book a few years ago, I actually realized what was going on. I was actually embarrassed to be me. I was embarrassed to say my own name.
Yeah.
And like you said, that toxic and unhealthy relationship that I had with myself, if I didn't have that, then I don't think I would. Actually, I'm 100% sure I wouldn't be in the space I am now, trying to help to understand that relationship they have with themselves so that they can then bring those relationships that they want into their lives.
You know what? You have no idea how strongly that resonates with me. I'll tell you a quick little story. I mean, you know about my background being in the rock industry and singing and all that sort of stuff. I played in front of some big crowds, did some football stadiums and all that sort of stuff. Here's the thing. Very similar. If I was there, maybe playing to 15,000 people or 20,000 or whatever it was in a football stadium, absolutely loved it. If I was playing in a pub to two men and a dog and there was eye contact,
right,
it was way too personal. Very similar, because when you're up there parading around in front of a big crowd, it's not as personal and you're actually being somebody else. You put on this facade, this kind of, you're an entirely different person.
Yeah.
But then when you're in an environment where there's only a few people and they're looking you right in the eye and it becomes personal, that was more difficult for me. And so I really resonate with what you're talking about, you know, and it is a great place though, isn't it? Because you and I are both equipped because we've had to come from that place. We've got complete empathy with anybody who's going through it now themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Connection is an issue for a lot of people.
Yeah.
To connect at a deeper level, to really allow yourself to be seen,
Mm.
and to see someone else is if you've had a lot of difficulty in that area growing up, then you will struggle as an adult to be able to form those bonds that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And as you said, that kind of people seeing you, really seeing you and allowing people to really see you is so uncomfortable at times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I once I did the Myers-Briggs thing, and I came out as an INFJ, which is
Mm.
extremely rare. It's a massive introvert. Now, given what I've done in my past, you'd never think so. But I used to giggle about it when I had a business partner years ago, and he was an absolute extrovert from head to toe, right, all the way. And I used to giggle with clients when I used to talk about meeting them for the same time at, let's say, a restaurant or a cafe. I'd say, if it's busy, look for the corners. I'll be in the corner somewhere away from the crowd. If it had
Mm.
been my business partner, I would have said, you'll find him in the middle of whatever crowd there is. That's
Yeah,
where he'll be.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's really interesting. But I have to add as well that it's kind of it's definitely, although it can be a limitation to begin with and something that you need to overcome, there are so many introverts out there, that actually come good. It's not something that stops you unless you allow
mm,
it to. And the same in relationship, isn't it? You need to overcome this. Learn to
yeah,
love yourself before you can love others fully,
yeah. I've been slightly the opposite. Although I've really struggled with this thought of who I am and the feelings around who I am, I've always been a bit of an extrovert. Nobody would ever tell you that I was an introvert. I'd always be I used to do theatre group. I was obviously an athlete. I used to be on the TV.
Yeah.
I'd always want to stand out in a crowd because I was an attention seeker.
Yeah.
I wanted people to like me. But again, it was all a facade. It was all, inside I was massively insecure and was putting myself out to be rejected. But I was so desperate for acceptance
Yeah.
that I really wanted to be seen so that people would prove to me that I was worth something. But the confidence was so fragile
Mm.
that if it wouldn't take very much for me to self-sabotage that, or to take that in a really bad way if someone was to not show me what I wanted or needed at the time.
Mm.
And saying on top of that, I also had limited expectations of myself. So when I was doing really well, especially if my athletics was going well, and then other bits and pieces that I tried to do in my career and that have gone well, because of my confidence, because of the lack of belief in myself, I would then do something which would ruin that. And so I would never actually reach the
Yeah.
levels I could have done.
Yeah.
Because I was really striving to get somewhere, but then my brain was going, yeah, but you don't really deserve to do well. You're never really going to amount to anything. Why don't you do something which makes a mess of this now? So that's exactly what I would do in all areas of my life, but especially with my relationships. I would always choose relationships which I knew would make me feel worthless.
Yeah.
So no matter what I did for somebody, or no matter who I was for somebody, for them, because of the issues that they were struggling with, I would never feel like I was enough. And therefore the relationship would then come to an end, and I would feel resentful and upset because I thought, I'm not good enough again.
Yeah.
They treated me badly, but it was me choosing those types of people to be with because I didn't know how to be with somebody in a healthy space.
Yeah.
And I needed to feel rubbish about myself.
Hey, who needs competition in relationships or in business when you're beating yourself up like that on a daily basis?
Exactly.
It's real weird. When I left the music business and had gone back and got a normal job and just decided that was it, I'd had enough. I'd had the record deal. It hadn't worked out quite the way I thought it would and everything else. And I thought, I'm happy now. That's okay. And then I got approached to join a well-known band and start touring and doing all that. And in the end, I thought, you know what? Okay, I'll give it one more go. And I can always come back do this if it doesn't work out. It went really, really well. Here's where the connection is. That's when I had to go on to antidepressants the first time. It started to go so well, I spent all my time waiting for life to take it away again.
Right.
So
yeah,
crazy. And you and I are not the only ones. It's just
no.
It's so sad that we don't need competition in any area of life when all we're doing is bursting our own bubbles every 5 minutes.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. When I did athletics, it's a very singular person event, apart from
Yeah.
maybe if you're doing the relay. But my mind was never really on the competition. My mind was always on myself, which it needs to be, but it was always on how I was going to not do very well,
Mhm.
because I didn't have that confidence and belief in myself. And it's interesting that you said that, the fear of losing something. So that again, people talk about fear of failure a lot, don't they?
Mhm.
But I think the fear of success is just as debilitating at times,
Yeah.
because we just don't know how to. Maybe fear is not the right word, but the fear of getting something, or the fear of loss, I think.
Mm.
It's what I can have and what I've got, and like you said, when is that going to be taken away from me? Because my expectancy is that either I don't deserve good things I get never last, or whatever our
Yeah.
idea about that might be. And it's interesting, like you said, that you then needed to go on antidepressants because your fear of loss
Yeah.
was completely overwhelming you.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's the old upper limit trigger. It is. It's that false ceiling of expectation, which is directly linked to your self-value.
Mhm.
That's the issue. And here's the weird thing, and this is, and I'm sure this is the same in relationships as well. Whether it be a kind of husband wife husband, it doesn't matter, or relationship with business people, it really doesn't matter. I find that when I'm talking with clients, a lot of the time, I'll go back to the iceberg example that I think we spoke about in a previous um, call. And a lot of the stuff when you said you had a toxic relationship with yourself, that's largely obviously because you were running your life on a logical, conscious level. Okay, you were trying to fix the challenges that you'd created on that level with the same level of intelligence. Then you
Mhm.
began to look at trying to reprogram your subconscious as well.
Mhm.
Work on that. Here's the problem with that. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but we'll just clarify for those watching. The problem with the subconscious is it will go out there and seek evidence to support things so that
Mhm.
it becomes a belief. The
Mhm.
reticular activation system, all that stuff. Okay. So that takes a lot of work over time before that becomes permanent. Here's the thing, the way to circumvent that completely is to tap into faith. Faith has got nothing to do with requiring evidence from anybody or anything. It's just an innate knowing. That lies below the subconscious in what I call like the superconscious, higher self, whatever you want. It's almost like
Yes.
your connection with your God force,
Mhm.
whatever label you want to attach. And when you kind of, people talk about love at first sight and all, and taking it back to the relationship thing, when you instinctively know you're with the right person, it doesn't matter what challenges or problems you come up against. You're in it to win it, sort of thing. You're in it for
Mhm.
life because you
Mhm.
know you're with the right person. When you're aligned with your passion, as you are now, and I am, we're all going to have our challenges as entrepreneurs, but we know, we have a knowing based on no evidence whatsoever
Mhm.
that everything's going to be just fine. And it's so empowering. And I do try to encourage people to get clear on reconnect with who they really are. Because as we
Mhm.
go through life, and I'd like your take on this, I believe as we go through life, we actually start to develop a life that's more in keeping with other people's wants, needs, and desires than our own, to the point where we might not even be able to put our finger on exactly who we are and what we do want for ourselves.
Mhm.
Can you speak
Yeah.
to that?
Yeah, no, that's what my documentary is about, actually.
Oh, brilliant.
So my documentary is called "Forget Me Not: The Child You Left Behind,"
Mm,
because as a child, especially myself, but most of the people that I work with, we learn to conform. We learn to fit into the experiences and the relationships that we have when we grow up.
mm,
And if parts of our personality, parts of ourselves don't seem to fit when we're younger, we discard them or we suppress them.
mm.
And we try to show the side of ourselves that is accepted by the people that are around us. And then when we get to adulthood, we really struggle with this whole holistic self,
Mm.
because there's parts of us that in the past what we have rejected in the past, and we don't know how to be that person. We don't know how to accept that that is part of who we are. And the documentary is to say, okay, it's about understanding the parts of yourself that you might feel uncomfortable with, and actually then bringing those out of yourself in order to allow yourself to be whole again. Because there's no reason to suppress those, because there's no one around to tell you anymore that that's not okay apart from yourself. And then when we start to bring those constituent parts of ourselves back together and start to feel more comfortable with those parts and allow them bits of ourselves to be seen, then we feel a lot more congruent, we feel a lot more authentic and a lot more whole. And that self-confidence that comes naturally will build so that we're able to accept who we are. And I agree that this, I mean, when I first started the kind of changing the subconscious idea, I was really rejecting of anything positive about myself out of hand, because as you said, my belief was that I wasn't very worthy, that I was never going to amount to anything, and I wasn't allowed good things, that I was rubbish at things. And every time I tried to sort of say, oh no, John, you're really good, and this, that, and the other, and my brain would go, no, you're not. So I started off by just saying, you know what, John, you're okay. What you're doing is okay. This is okay. And gradually that message seeped into my subconscious that, you know what, you're okay. And then I was able to layer it up to make it more positive and more positive. And now I won't swear, but my affirmation, if I'm feeling a bit down on myself, is you are awesome, but with an F word in front of it. And I believe it because I've layered that up.
By the way, you are.
Thank you very much. But again, it's that belief, that concept. Now I do slip back into my old stuff occasionally when I think, where's my next client coming from? Is this going to work out? And I go, no, stop. It's all okay. It's going to be great. You just keep going where you're going and it's all falling into place. Everything's going to be great. And it's about, like you said, buying into that sort of, what do they call it, your super genius or your super conscious or whatever it is, that higher level of belief, faith, whatever you want to call it, that you are going to be able to achieve what you want. And it's interesting you picked up the reticular activating system. That's a godsend for me. I think when I first recognized that, and I knew that there was actually a physical part of my brain which finds what I want, and if I keep telling it what I want, it will look for it all of the time. And again, it's the same as if what I don't want, and this is where a lot of my clients fall down, because they're always looking for what they don't want, which is where I was looking for relationships that didn't make me feel crap, that this and this and this, and all I was finding were relationships that made me feel crap, because I was telling my brain all the time that that's what I didn't want to find. I like to use the analogy that if I go to the park looking not to tread in dog poo, all I'm ever looking for is dog poo.
It's dog poo. Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. And
So
you,
I'm gonna miss all
you know
the
what you were saying just then about you used to worry about, like, you know, where's my next client coming from as well. Projection is one of the worst things for feeling fear and magnifying fear. And that's what Alcoholics Anonymous talk about it all the time in their 12 steps program as well. Live in the moment, live in the day. You've got Eckhart Tolle talking about the same thing. But there's such power in just being able to say, you know what, I can only affect the moment I'm in. The moment I'm in is the only moment I have right now or will ever have. And when it's past, I'll be in another moment. And it's my job to do nothing other than be happy in that moment. But the minute you start to project outwards, you're worrying about things you cannot control, which is pointless, absolutely pointless. So it was interesting that you said that, because, I mean, I talk to loads of coaches and most of them want more clients, and none of them are living in the now. They're all out there somewhere, you know, in their mind, and just getting more and more and more frustrated, which leads to more and more of the same. So, no, it is, I love this stuff. How long you got? Can we stretch this out for next 3 days?
Do you know what? We probably could.
I think we could. We could. Listen, I mean, I know that you're busy, and I want to keep this to time, and I know we're getting close to the end of our time together. So, John, I'd really love to be able to give some people some links and information if they want to dig further into what you do and need help. Where can they go to find out more?
So the best place probably to go is my website, which is www.johnkennycoaching.com. You can find me all over social media as well. If you want to follow me on there, just John Kenny Coaching, you'll be able to find me on there. If you do go to the website, I actually, as I mentioned, I wrote a book a couple of years ago called The People Program, which I've got a little copy of just here.
Brilliant.
Overcome Your Blocks to Success. The first part of the book is about kind of my life story to a certain degree and how I figured myself out and what the issues that I had and why. And the second part is a 6-part program to help people to ask themselves the same questions as that. I've turned that into a video program, so you can get that for at no cost on my website if people visit there at the moment. And yeah, so if you're interested in learning a bit more about what I do and following those steps, then you can get that a free download.
Love it, love it. And the documentary?
Yeah, the documentary is also available on Amazon, and at the moment, when we're coming out of lockdown, I have to see what the producers say. But because of lockdown, they allow me to sell it on my website for £1, and it's still there at the moment. It's a 70-minute documentary; it's well worth a watch.
Yeah.
But because we were looking to help people to kind of figure things out and to find something informational during lockdown that's going to stimulate people a bit and get them to think, we had it on my website. So again, if you go to website and have a look at my resources list, there you can buy the documentary for £1 at the moment, and all proceeds go towards low-cost counselling and CBT therapy for an agency where I am a director too. Yeah. So that would be great if you could.
John, that's wonderful. I'll tell you what, that says everything about you as a character. I'm delighted we're connected, and I know we're going to go on to be really, really good friends. I know it. I would love to be able to do this again with you, maybe in six months, and see where we both are, and see if there's any more nuggets of wisdom we could drop over coffee. And
like you say, another 3 days worth, probably.
That's it. That's the issue. We've got to watch that one. Got to watch that one. But listen, a big thank you to you. I really appreciate your time. Take good care. Stay safe. And much success in the future, and we'll connect again soon.
Me as well. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, John. Bye, mate. Bye-bye.